All right, we are live. Let's make sure we are good. We got a handful of folks watching. Thanks for joining, everybody. We're going to get started here very shortly. If you could just make sure that audio is okay, definitely let us know in the live chat here. We will be taking questions as well for those of you who have them. I appreciate the handful of you who are able to join us here today. And it will get officially started in approximately 1 to 2 minutes. All right. All right, let's do it. Hello and welcome to a special bonus edition of Krakin Krakoa Live. I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. I am joined today by Chris Hassan, the writer and editor and curator of all things XMen Monday on AIPT, Adventures in Poor Taste. Chris, thanks so much for joining this evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Dave. And hi, everyone out there on YouTube.
I appreciate you joining. It is greatly appreciated to have this conversation. It should be a lot of fun. Now, Chris, you're a huge X-Men fan, and what I wanted to talk to you about especially is you all are building to XMen 100, XMen Monday 100, rather, which will be coming this Monday. So we're recording this on Thursday, 3/18. We will be talking about XMen Monday, of course, on Twitter on 3/22, I believe, correct?
Well,
which is the upcoming Monday?
Correction. It's for the final Monday of the month. So it's what is that?
3/29.
There you go.
3/29 is when XMen Monday is released. All right, this is important. This is why I have you here, so I can get these details correct. So XMen Monday 100 will be coming. Now, this is this really interesting feature that you've been running on AIPT. It's a series of interviews with X-Men Office creators, right? So like you have everyone from, X-Line editor Jordan D. White to Jonathan Hickman to most recently Teeny Howard in XMen Monday number 99. If people out there who like Krakin Krakoa and the reviews that I do on YouTube aren't familiar with this column, it is highly, highly recommended. You get great tidbits, like you get all the best interviews and answers, and it becomes kind of a thing. It's become this I don't know, big momentum push for X-Men stuff every Monday about books that are coming, about what creators have planned. I loved the Cy Spurrier interview you just did about Way of X. That was I'm so pumped for that series now, doubly so after reading that. So enough about me describing it. Chris, what can you tell us about kind of what X-Men Monday is to you? And I guess let's start too with just how did this series start? Because it started a fair number of months before House and Powers really took off.
Yeah, I am so lucky that it started before those and during this era.
Yeah.
I'll go into the history a little bit. I've been at AAPT for a couple of years as a contributor. And like you said, I'm a big X-Men fan. I've been my first X-Men comic I ever bought was X-Men 39 at a Sam Goody.
Nice.
In a mall that no longer exists.
Sam Goody. That's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, it was the Adam X on the cover, so it's an interesting one to start with.
I just reread that for XMen Legends.
Yeah. Why? Yeah, XMen Legends are really exciting for me because that is where it began, and I never thought that story would be told. But
amazing.
So I bought that comic and just kind of got into X-Men through that, and the fun of being a 90s X-Men fan and piecing it all together. I think I got in right at the age of Apocalypse, so that's a strange place to get into. But I've caught up over the years. I know my X-Men history now. So while at AAPT, when Uncanny X-Men was relaunching in 2018, I said to the people at AAPT, hey, I want to do an X-Men theme month, and I'll curate articles every day. Different people can contribute. People from outside the site can contribute. So we put together Uncanny X Month, and that was a month-long event coinciding with Uncanny X-Men 1, the X-Men Disassembled. That was so much fun. We then did when Cyclops, who's up there, Cyclops, my favorite X-Men character, when he was returning in, I think, X-Men 11 or whatever the annual was,
yeah.
I said, let's do a Cyclops week for the site. similar thing, like interviewed Fabian Nicieza, various people, had some fun articles. And around that time, Marvel PR reached out to AIPT and said, "You guys have really been doing a lot of X-Men stuff lately. Like, you guys really love X-Men. Like, would you like to host like a weekly column where you take fan questions and work with Jordan D. White?" So obviously, getting that email, I was like, "Yes, I will definitely do that." And it's been really, really fun and fascinating experience. And obviously, we're very much involved in the X-Men fan community because we're taking those questions. But yeah, it's been 100 weeks of that. So kind of developing it along the way. And I guess, yeah, your original question was, what is it? So yeah, it's a weekly column that every week we take questions. We have a new theme every week. Jordan D. White, the X-Men senior editor, is typically the person answering the questions, but we've definitely diversified it as time has gone on. Like Dave said, we had Teenie Howard. We've gone through, in the lead up to X-Men Monday 100, we've checked in with all the X creators, including people like Cy Spurrier coming up. The only one we haven't checked back in with is Leah Williams. So I'm hoping after 100 we can talk to Leah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is. I know a lot of people complain there are a lot of X-Men books, including like X-Men Legends, but every time they launch a new book, I'm like, great, that's one more week.
Yeah, right.
Someone I can talk to. So hopefully the Simonsons are coming on to do X-Men Legends after.
Oh, that's exciting.
I would love to talk to them. I'm hoping I get to do that. But yeah, it's kind of the fun. And Jordan is a great collaborator, and I can. Sometimes I pitch him ideas and he's like, "No, we're not going to do that." But a lot of times it's like, "Hey, can we do an edition about Scott and Jean since they're going to be the new leaders?" He's like, "Sure." So like that's it. And yeah, then part of it is Jordan sends over a batch of exclusive preview images every week that are included at the end of the column.
Right.
So that's a lot of fun too. Yeah, that's kind of the elevator pitch.
Right. No, it's awesome. Yeah, and these become very interesting. There's a lot of good tidbits in here from, again, the different creators. Like you said, sometimes too, it's just like having fun with characters that are having a moment in the X-Men books. You're very attuned to what's going on in the Krakoa era, definitely, since writer Jonathan Hickman and all these new X-Office creators took over. I'm curious so you have these interviews that are part you asking creators questions, part fan questions, and you're kind of curating and mixing that all together. How do you actually manage getting these questions in a coherent fashion to the different creators? Is it like a shared document that then you're like jumbling on the fly, or are you actually having like actual conversations, face to face or on the phone with some of these this talent?
So yeah, it varies. It started out with so we used to ask questions on Twitter via the AIPT account, like get your questions in about blah blah blah. And you just get a bunch of different tweets, some of them angry tweets, a little bit of mix. Then we recently moved to a Google survey format, which I think is a lot easier to manage. And so now, we post the link in an article, people answer it, and then, I set a deadline for it. And then once the deadline's passed, I turn off the survey. And then I just sort through them all. And it's sort of... you look for themes, like what are a lot of people asking. You weed out the angry comments, which I've realized a lot of people, I think they think that X-Men Monday is like a chance to put writers on trial or Jordan on trial.
Yeah.
Which I don't really appreciate. And so those always go right in the garbage. But sometimes we can ask critical questions though. And I also try to weed out spoiler questions, because that's something that the creators and Jordan, it could really go either way, I found. Sometimes you can ask, a spoiler question and a creator will have fun with it and take it in a different direction. Other times, they'll just flat out say, I'm not answering that.
Yeah.
So after a while, you kind of get to know, like, okay, which creators like to play ball. And you also don't want to waste, that question if it's not worth it. So sometimes I'll rewrite them a little bit, or I'll add a little bit to smooth it out. But yeah, I try not to... obviously it's for the fans, so I want to make sure the majority of them are for the fans. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll pitch in if there's not enough, or we need to, if it's a new book launching and we need to kind of pad it out with some general questions, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Other times, and then I send them over to Jordan, and usually I give him a deadline, and within a week we get him back the answers. But during the pandemic, when that started and comics kind of shut down, I didn't want to stop XMen Monday, and it's as much for my own sanity doing this column every week, especially when you can't go anywhere.
Right.
I want to keep it going. So I made a point to, while Jordan kind of took a back seat during that because just there's nothing to promote really. I reached out to various X creators or X adjacent people. So I talked to David Nakayama. I talked to Lonnie and Zach. We did an X-Man Monday. We just did lots of fun different things every week. Talked to Jordan Bloom for the first time, just about XMen Fandom and stuff. So in those cases, it was fun because I did calls over video like this, So, and it was nice to, like, even though these people aren't my friends, it's like talking to a friend during the pandemic on Skype.
Right.
And then during Ten of Swords, Jordan and I would do a weekly call, so we mixed it up a little bit. So that was fun. And I haven't pitched this to him yet, so I don't know, and I don't think he's watching. But I think something fun to do would maybe do when the Hellfire Gala gets going again, and it's a weekly thing. Maybe I can do like a weekly column coverage with Jordan, so we kind of talk about the week that was and answer questions. So
cool. Hopefully. Yeah, that was one of my questions I was going to ask. So we had recently solicited or announced Planet-Sized X-Men, right, is coming in June, and that is going to kick off this month-long Hellfire Gala event, really. Or like, they haven't like called it an event, but clearly it's got an event feel. Every title in the X-Men line is going to contribute and kind of have their own perspective on this one night, right? This Hellfire Gala. And we've got the designs recently released by Russell Dowderman, did these designs. Amazing artist. Probably most well known at this point for his interiors and covers with Matthew Wilson on Thor with Jason Aaron. But these designs, which are amazing. And if we have time here, we may dig in a little bit into, I set up like a very simple March Madness bracket for some of the Hellfire Gala designs, and are very, my very uneducated opinion on fashion, certainly, but just on what I think is super cool that Dowderman has done. But yeah, I was curious, like, this is going to be a huge month. And then they've got, the actual Planet Size itself is coming out on June 16th, so 616, which when someone pointed out to me was just like, my fandom just exploded. And I was like, that's amazing. That's so much fun. It's going to be a super fun month. So yeah, I hope you guys can do something like a weekly kind of recap, because I feel like people aren't necessarily thinking of this Hellfire Gala in terms of like a Ten of Swords style event per se. But it's definitely got that, like, it's getting that, building that kind of momentum. I don't know, like, what other expectations or hopes do you have for kind of what they're planning here?
Man, well, I will say Russell is one of the people I talked to during the pandemic, so that was cool.
Yeah.
He's great. Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting, because I do feel like it's in the Ten of Swords kind of feel to it, that it's like a fun, different kind of X-Men event. And I don't know if this is considered an event by Marvel, but like it seems like it will all tie together. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. I'm trying very hard not to give details about XMen Monday 100. I want to kind of it to be a surprise. But,
yeah, for sure.
These are questions that I considered and maybe asked during my questions I sent over for XMen Monday 100. So yeah, look for Hellfire Gala stuff in XMen Monday 100.
Awesome. No, it makes a lot of sense. So, all right. So, speaking of X-Men Monday 100, you've had this really, really awesome run. Before we answer like what is coming, or what you can tell us, how, as the person like running this show, I guess, for AIPT, like, how much has it exceeded your expectations, matched? Like, what has kind of the journey been like, and what are the things that you have enjoyed the most about doing this column so far?
Expectations with a capital X.
Yeah, exactly. Right, there you go.
It's been a wild ride. Because first of all, like I never take it for granted. Like, even when it's stressing me out, I'm so lucky to do this as an X-Men fan. Mm-hmm. And I always remember that of X-Men. I mean, I am a fan at the end of the day, but in a reader. But I am the one person X-Men fandom that on Fridays I get to see these answers and these exclusive previews, and sure. I alone get to go first.
Yeah.
So like that alone, like I'm very lucky. So, but No, I work very hard. I mean, it is like it's like a second job, and it's, I spend a lot of my free time thinking about it, how to make it better, how to make it exciting. The first article we ever did, I remember I asked Jordan about like baconators, I think at the end, like the first time at the time he tweeted something about talking about baconators or something.
Yeah.
So it's really evolved from like, okay, what do people want to hear Jordan talk about?
Yeah.
Not baconators. They
Yeah.
want to hear about like the comics. But it's I've been doing comics journalism for a long time too, and I have like my preferences and what I like to read. I always make sure that we're treating these people as people, these creators. They're not just there to tell fans spoilers, and they're not just there to do what the fans want.
Mhm.
So I do read a lot of in my time doing it. 100 Weeks, there have been a lot of like angry comments. A lot of people get really angry it's kind of, at first you're like, am I a bad writer? Am I doing a terrible job here? And then you kind of learn over time, like, no, they're just X fans are very passionate, and just because they might not like something Jordan says, and they just say this sucks, this is a bad column, but it's like it's not. They just don't agree with what he's saying and his take on the character or something like that. So
Sure.
it's trying to understand that. We did a MODOK Monday recently, which I thought would be fun, and I kind of knew would piss some people off. But it's the fact that Jordan Bloom and Patton Oswalt, who are both in it, they had MODOK going to Krakoa for an issue.
Yeah.
So I knew that, and I was like, oh, well, this makes sense for X-Men fans, and like this is why X-Men fans should put this on their poll list.
Yeah.
And I saw a comment on one of the message boards that day that they're like, this has nothing to do with X-Men. Stupid. But I'm like, the whole thing, I made a point to make it about X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, it's just so much fun to talk to these creators who, I would be reading their work even if I wasn't doing the column, and get to pick their brains and have a lot of fun. And it's been fun to like I'm a Comedy Bang Bang fan, and Scott Aukerman did X-Men Black Mojo, and I was like, I've got this column if I can talk to Scott Aukerman. And I asked Jordan, he's like, he's in. And so like I don't know if like X-Men comic fans want to hear from Scott Aukerman or care about Comedy Bang Bang, but even like getting Patton Oswalt recently, like that's exciting. Like,
yeah, oh for sure.
Chance to talk to these people about X-Men too, of all things.
Right.
I've said before, my white whale for X-Men Monday is Rivers Cuomo from Weezer.
Oh,
he did In the Garage. He sings about Kitty Pryde. And
he mentions Kitty. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got the X-Men connection, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know Weezer is not the most popular band anymore, so that could be another one where people are like, "Why is he talking to Rivers Cuomo?" But I would die very happy if I could have Rivers Cuomo on X-Men Monday.
That would be super fun. I would love that curveball. Yeah, to get him in here. And I'm curious, what is his actual relationship with X-Men? I would love to know more. For my history with Blue Album and Pinkerton, like we got to know what's the deal with Rivers. All right, cool. So XMen Monday 100 coming up soon. What are the plans that you can tell us, and what should people know about it going into? Again, it's not going to be this coming Monday. It's going to be March 29th.
I can tell you what it's not going to be. It's not the. So I've been planning this for weeks, and I've gone through many drafts of questions, and one of the it's tough because I want it to be big. Everything I do has to be big for X-Men Monday. I come from a film background, and I love, going to concerts and music. So I always love anything I do. I want to try to make it as exciting as possible and as interactive as possible.
Yeah.
So my approach to planning was I got on the treadmill when I'd work out every day, and I'd play like party songs.
Okay.
Or like songs that pump me up, and to see like what kind of juices marinate in there. So one idea I had was we just recreate a party in an article form, which would be like kind of moving around different groups of creators at this party. So it's like X fans are attending the party, and we would have random curveballs like, oh, there's Scott Snyder. What's Scott Snyder talking about with X-Men? And that was too high concept. I quickly abandoned that. But because I have found that like at when I used to do like conventions, when we had conventions, I would do an X-Men Monday there, and I just talked to random creators. And I talked to Tom King once just because I'm like, hey, why not put Tom King in this?
Sure.
And reading the reactions, people were like, why is Tom King in this? Is he getting an X-book? So
oh yeah.
You don't want to confuse people. But,
anyone you named, there would immediately be speculation about what book they're on and all that. Yeah.
So another idea I had was and I asked people on Twitter this question. I was like, what are the great like unresolved X-Men stories, or like what are the great like debates X fans have, and they'll never stop having. And people were like, who's the true love of Cyclops' life, or is Kitty a Neo, or is Deadpool an X-Men character?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I could take these to the X-Men creators and they could debate them. But I was like, you know what? They're not going to want to do that. And I don't think anyone wants to answer this Neo question. So
I can already that Neo question comes up all the time. First off, which is hilarious. I get that commented on Krakin Krakoa constantly, which is really funny. I can definitely already see the patented response here, which is going to be like, that sounds like a story. They might have plans for that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I did away with that idea. So what I did come up with a list of 10 questions that I provided. There was a question about Don the Lobster, I think, that I cut out.
He's been a popular one since House and Powers, yeah.
Yeah, Don the Lobster and Baby Havoc. I was going to put a question about them, but I ended up cutting at the last moment. So that's a B-side that maybe one day we can get to.
XMen Monday B-sides, yeah.
But yeah, no, so it's 10 questions. I don't know who's going to be in it. I can't say. Who knows? Maybe Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder and Tom King. But no, I don't. I'm not going to say. But I did. I emailed Jordan on Monday the questions, and he didn't write back to me. And the week before, he had sent me an email, and I didn't get it. So I was worried. They're like, I can't blow XMen Monday 100. So I followed up the next day. I was like, did you get my email?
Is this a problem? Yeah.
Yeah. He wrote back. He's like, we're working on it. So I'm like, all right, good.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been really nice to have. I think one of the coolest things about this era of X-Men in a lot of ways is, one, just the fandom around it and the passion and enthusiasm that, as like in my comics lifetime, which is essentially this past decade, I've never seen for X-Men before. You can debate the merits of various things, but certainly nothing until House and Powers. I didn't quite see like what XMen Fandom looks like in full force until that era, where just everyone's so jazzed about, basically like everything that's going on, to the point that, them announcing costumes for a gala is the biggest comics news of a day. Like that's wild. And same goes for like XMen Monday, where these interviews with various creators that you're conducting, like every Monday, that's kind of like a huge piece of fodder for everyone to dissect and talk about and figure out, like, and it's definitely something that I've referenced too, and try to give you guys credit and source it appropriately when I get there. But like in Krakin Krakoa videos, I mean, 75% probably of quotes of just like, they, such and such said this thing, comes from the types of tidbits you're dropping in XMen Monday, just again, because of the curation you're doing, because of the access, and just the way that's structured. So I mean, well done on it. I'm excited for this issue 100, or not issue, but that's the terms I think in, column 100, and then where you go from there. I think it'll be super fun.
And so, I recommend that people, I mean, if they haven't read the column, go back in for fun and just like, I mean, first of all, if you haven't read them, there's 100 great interviews with creators.
Yeah.
That's a good weekend, but it's fun for me to go back to and realize, like, actually I tweeted this yesterday, but we had the Jordan and the Teeny Howard batch of pictures this week. It was a crop of the cover to the Hellfire Gala X Corp issue cover.
Oh yeah.
So basically I was like, oh, before Entertainment Weekly, we had the first Hellfire Gala design.
Is that Monet then, with like the penance hair? Oh, okay, very nice. Yeah.
That's fun. But we had one of the, I think number one, Jordan had a picture of Sage sitting in the Krakoa Center, like black and white. And then like 2 editions later, Charles Xavier from Powers of 10 won. So it's like, it's really cool to see. We didn't realize what House of X or Powers of X was, but he was sharing those images like early on. So it's super cool. And one of my favorite things actually is like, because I buy the comics every Wednesday at the shop, and I go through and read them. And when I see one of those panels from XMen Monday, I'm like, oh, that's that panel. Yeah, and it's funny to see like how small they are sometimes, like in the layout of the page. So
right. Oh, that's funny. Just and to get the context of like what is actually happening here. Like, how does this fit into the story? That's funny. So
you're right. Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, I was saying you're right though. Like on Mondays, like people do like, I'll see people like debating like, what is this? What does this mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, because it's every morsel that you get. I mean, you got to do it. What? So you're going and picking up all the books, like you said. What is your? You have sort of, I imagine kind of dual brain. Like there's the journalist side, and then there's just the fan side. As a fan right now, like what are you super jazzed about reading in the X Men line? Like what are the books that you're loving, and kind of the storylines that you're most into?
Yeah, that's funny. I was thinking this morning about how like before X-Men Disassembled, like I wasn't reading every book. I was
Hmm.
reading like the main X-Men ones, but I wasn't reading like Rogue and Gambit, or there was like that Wolverine Infinity story, whatever.
Yeah,
Now I now I read like every single thing, and like I don't even
yeah.
question it. And it's I think this is the first time I've done that since I was a kid when I got into it. Because when I
Hmm.
got into it, I was like, I have to buy every X whatever,
Yeah,
X-Men Classic, X-Men reprints, early years.
yeah.
So this is the first time, like even like Demon Days, like it's not tied to continuity, but I bought it like because I was like, I have to buy
It's
this.
an X Men thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So no, I love this era. I think it's I really I'm one of those people who wants it to go on as long as possible.
Yeah,
My greatest fear every day is like, oh no, don't like I hope this is not like we're nearing the end of Hickman's,
yeah.
three act whatever.
I hope it's not 3X. I want to be clear
I
about that too, because I've seen a lot of people assume, Reign of X is part two. I hope it's like two of five.
yeah.
Like I
I
will
mean,
actually be disappointed if it's like a 3-act thing.
we all, I mean, especially if we've been reading a long time, like we've all survived, the post Morrison, like, oh, none of that happened. Let's sweep that
Yeah,
all under the rug.
yeah,
And that's like my greatest fear. Like
yes.
they're like, okay, let's fold it back, and they're back in the mansion now, and they're doing this
Which
stuff.
is which is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I just hope it's a lot of years before it does. you
Yeah,
know, I just think like there will be, and I talked about this. I did some like Chuck Austin reread, which is that it's that immediate post Morrison era, like you mentioned, and I did a video on this where it's like they're working so hard to say like, oh, let's get back to basics. Let's do the old style X-Men like you remember. Hey, isn't that what you want? And it's very disappointing if you're into the Morrison era new X-Men. And I
yeah.
can totally see that happening post Hickman, and I can totally see being immensely bummed out about it. I just hope it's after like, 5 years of an amazing story that then I can just be like, we had that amazing thing. They can do whatever they want now, as far editorially, and that's fine. It's sort of like I'm a Cubs fan,
Mhm.
and it's so much disappointment for such a long time that then when they won in 2016, whatever happens from here, I'm like, I'm good. Like I got the one. So as long as the Hickman era story, which I fully expect, like has this immaculately planned long run. And again, I don't know what that exact right time frame is. It's as a fan, it's a very selfish like I hope it goes, super long, but whatever that time frame is, I'm long-winded about this, but like I'm sure they will turn the corner and run it back to the way things were. We won't be in Krakoa forever, but I want to savor the time where we are because this is super interesting. I'm enjoying
Well,
that quite a
I
bit.
think they're. I mean, the good thing they're doing is like stuff like X Men Legends. Because I mean, I know that there are fans that don't like the current era, and I know that Marvel is cognizant of that. They know that, and Jordan said like when I asked him like what is what up with X Men Legends, he said like on the record like we know there are people that don't like what we're doing, and
Mm,
this is for them.
yeah,
And I saw the reactions to X Men Legends one. I enjoyed reading it. I thought it was like a throwback.
yeah,
It's like fun, like candy. But I can also go enjoy Marauders or
right.
Children of the Atom, and like I mean I am not a I'm not a super passionate comic book fan. Like I have been reading since I was a kid, and like when I read a comic, I read it and I move on to the next one and I go on with my life. Like I don't really get too deep into it.
Yeah, yeah.
The same way I watch like TV or movies. But I'm passionate. I love it. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, but like yeah. So they're aware, and I think it's great that they're putting out books for those different readers. And if they can keep going with that, and like where we can have both, like I think that's a great thing. And yeah,
Legends is a great example because it is very much a have your cake and eat it too thing, where they're like, okay, Krakoa, it might not feel like your X-Men anymore, and obviously that is a complaint. There's a fandom that feels that. I disagree, but there's a fandom that feels that. X-Men Legends, it's like cool. Like here's like us retelling a '90s story with Fabian Nicieza and very '90s style art. It's Adam X the Extreme. How much more '90s can you get? Right? Exactly. And then you have the Simonsons coming back for an X Factor joint. In
yeah,
the '80s. So I'm very interested in them basically saying like, hey, here's these ways to revisit your past, but in ways that are new and sort of simultaneously disconnected from the main thing. Because like you said, there's a complaint that there's maybe too many X books. But what I love about it at this lineup right now is like there's an X book trying to be for everyone and trying to cover all these different facets of the world, and whether they're capturing everything or not, is up for debate. But I do quite appreciate that they're spreading out the line enough where it's like, yeah, there's like X Factor is a book that feels immensely different than Jonathan Hickman's written X-Men, but like they should and let those creators have their own voices and their own styles, and that's a good thing for the line. So I'm all in support of like Way of X coming and adding to the line.
Yeah,
I can't wait because it sounds like a really interesting vision.
It seems like I feel like X fans want a book just about people living life.
Yes.
They don't want like battles, and I'm the same way. So, like I think this book is about like Nightcrawler and some kids like exploring religion and like how we live. Like and then like Warren and Monet and just doing business like in another book. Like it's so exciting. Like I don't know, I'm excited about it.
For sure.
To answer your question, I love Marauders, which is a huge compliment to Jerry and his artistic collaborators, because those are not like my favorite characters. Like Kitty, I was never a Kitty Pryde fan, but like after that first issue, like I love Kate Pryde. I love her arc. It's so much fun. I love Pyro. I spend like everything they're doing. I am people that know me well know I'm a diehard Scott and Jean fan. So something I enjoy about this era is the fact that the Summers family is back together like for the first time, because I know like that is something I never thought I'd see in a comic. So that's super exciting.
Like the full extended Summers family hanging out.
All of them living together. Like so that's and it's funny because you mentioned like how this era will end, everything will end and change. I remember when Morrison broke up Scott and Jean, that was something I was like, man, I don't like this. and then I lived with Scott and Emma for 10 plus years, whatever, and I went with it though. I didn't get like angry about it. Just like I kept reading it. But now here we are, and Jean and Scott are back together with Logan and maybe Emma and multiple other people.
And who knows?
Yeah, but it's like it shows you how it goes. Like if I've been a fan since the 90s, so like you just know like, okay, let's see where this goes. And I know in 10 years they won't be together, and maybe someone else will be in the mix or something. But just kind of go for the ride. And I have faith in the creators, and I believe that creators should be able to tell their stories. So like whatever they're doing, however much I maybe don't like it as a fan, like let's go for the ride. Let them finish it up. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm 100% with you on that. And I think that's one of the coolest things predominantly about X fandom right now. There are obviously a lot of exceptions, but just like that faith in, these creators have a plan. I mean, it extends from the top down. I think like people who've read Hickman stuff in the past know like this is a guy who thinks like deeply about long-term stuff. He plans things out. I can't tell you how many times, I'll say something on video about like, I wish this was moving a little faster. And like everyone in the comments is like, calm down, have faith. There's a plan here. And it's like, it's very funny because it walks me back. And I feel like I'm typically actually pretty patient and relaxed about, comic book stuff, kind of like you. Like I have a good sense of proportion and balance to it. But there's definitely, it's just integrated into the fandom at this point, with exceptions. Some like obviously it doesn't mean you can't be critical and that you can't want different things to happen different ways, of course, across the line. But like, yeah, there's a clear plan. There's faith in this creative unit from the top down, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So Chris, I do want to ask you a question here from Anthony Hill, a longtime listener, fan of Comic Book Herald. Thank you, Anthony, for the question. He's wondering, this is totally just our opinions, right? So this is not based on any XMen Monday revelations, although if you want to drop a bomb, you can. But he's wondering, what do you think Emma Frost is planning by having this gala? He thinks maybe she's planning something with her teased wedding to Tony Stark, which if you remember from History of the Marvel Universe, there was a foreshadowing panel of like all these things to come. And in that panel, there was like Null, King in Black stuff. There were a handful of other things that like were definite Marvel things that have happened. And then there was this weird one, Tony and Emma getting married. What do you think, like, two-part question. What do we think Emma's doing with the gala? Second part, will it have anything to do with this marriage to Tony, or has that been tossed aside?
Well, hi, Anthony. Thanks for the question. So 2 parts. All right. So Emma, I don't know what she has planned for the gala. I think clearly they're bringing in people from all over the Marvel universe. That was teased. Jerry, I think, has said in XMen Monday, like when Emma Frost invites you, you don't know who's going to show up, or like you take the invitation.
Yeah.
I saw Captain America on the Wolverine cover, so I'm assuming there'll be a lot of Marvel heroes there.
Yep.
I don't know what she has planned. I really don't. And I think that's kind of the fun of this era. Like, we don't know from month to month. Like, no one could have predicted Ten of Swords, because it's my job to get these answers and to kind of tease this stuff. So I remember many times trying to get info out of Jordan, like, what can you tease, or give me a song that teases this. I'm like, never would have thought. He's like, you already know, like, we've laid the seeds.
Right,
and, like,
right.
for the apocalypse and the Four Horsemen. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of drama. I think there's going to be a lot of messy inter X-Men mingling and romance and drama, and I expect something to happen with the Scott Jean Logan thing. And again, I have no idea. I have no insight. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out maybe in X-Men Monday 100.
Yeah,
but
there we go.
I don't know. But the second part, this is a pet peeve of mine, because I feel like I've seen this question a lot, and people have asked me this question when sending questions to the column, but they'll say, why are Tony and Emma going to get married? And my feeling about that is that, and we've seen this with like Franklin Richards, how Hickman basically in X-Men Monday alluded that he had a plan. Dan Slott had a different plan and took it in a different direction.
That was a really interesting question and answer. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And since Dan Slott pretty much owns the character right now, he has that power. The same way, he's going to marry Doom in Fantastic Four. So I think we've seen like the X-Men pop up from time to time in other books, and people say like they don't sound like they do in the X books. So I think you see that like with King and Black, the X-Men are in that as well. But it's not like that's part of the X-Men master plan that Hickman and Jordan and all the other writers are part of. Yeah. So my hunch is that was a tease they put in there, or just an idea they threw in there, but it isn't something that is set in stone and has to happen. I think this opens up a bigger can of worms, that a lot of X fans will ask like something from Chuck Austin's run, and they'll ask that to Jordan or a creator about a character.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, like, these people are just like you and I, and this is a job for them. And I don't think every X editor and creator is keeping tabs on every unsolved X mystery from Chuck Austin before. Yeah. And because I've asked Jordan and other people, and they're like, I don't remember or know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I think the fans hold the creators to a different standard. Now there are the creators, I think, that really nerd out on that stuff, and they want to bring back that stuff. And this is actually, I'll just reveal it, because why not? I'm on this show.
Sure.
One of the questions I asked in X-Men Monday 100 is, how do you view the continuity of the X-Men? Is it a burden? Is it like a hindrance? Or is it like a creative inspiration? Or is it something that opens the door to new things? Because I think in this era, you've seen a lot of people pulling in stuff from past eras, and they want to because they're fans. So yeah, I kind of went off the rails here, but
no, I like it. I like it. And no, I think you're spot on. I think continuity is, I'm obsessed in many ways with Marvel continuity. Comic Book Herald is dedicated to coordinating a lot of it and putting it in reading orders and making it accessible so that people can enjoy comics in this chronological narrative fashion. That said, if you get too fixated on all of the details lining up in a medium as messy as comics, it can really derail your enjoyment and your experience. So there is that healthy blend of like wanting things to make sense, but simultaneously being forgiving and having space of just being like, yeah, this weird mystery that's a thing that happened 15 years ago, and it's not going to get solved. And if somebody wants to bring it up, we'll know, because they'll put it in a story where they're like pretty clearly referencing this thing, and like that's a direction a creator can take, but usually only if they have reason to, only if it fits into something that they want to say in the present moment. It's not necessarily Jonathan Hickman or Teenie Howard or whoever's job or like best interest or best story to answer a mystery from 2004, right? That another writer left hanging for whatever reason.
Yeah, and you don't want your creators to feel chained to these ideas. I mean, Mark Waid came up with an idea a couple years ago, and you don't want Jerry Duggan to be like, oh God, okay, yeah, I got to do that thing Mark Waid wanted me to do.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think there are those things I think that are like kind of Marvel master plans. I mean, I think maybe that was more a thing in the Bendis era when they kind of had those like architects overseeing the line. Yeah, I think we've gotten away from that for the better, I think.
Yeah.
But
the trick with the Tony and Emma marriage thing is that it's right there in the middle of like 5 things that happen. So it's definitely got a a feel of, yeah, kind of that Marvel retreat chalkboard kind of thing, where they're like, here's all the stuff we can tease that we know is coming. That said, it was published well before this Hickman era and the House and Powers era of Krakoa took over, right? So I've maintained that, like, I would be very surprised if that actually happens in any traditional fashion. If there's some weird twist on, like, oh, actually they got married, like in X-Men in the past or something, and that there's this weird, like, resolution or thing, fallout from that, like this thing that happened a long time ago. Maybe that's a story. Again, to Anthony's point, if there was a time to, like, surprise everyone, and this is Emma's baby, right? The Hellfire Gala is her thing. She's planning this. If there was a time for her to drop, like, a surprise massive wedding, I guess this would be the series of issues to do it. I would just be completely shocked by that. I would be, and not necessarily, I don't know. I don't think I like it as a fan. Like, I don't really like that move for either character, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. That said, it would be shocking. I will give them that, even though it's been, like you said, technically teased, but probably not. Probably just Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez being like, we have a cool idea,
Has everybody read that book too?
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's like kind of like the thing with the Kate and Neo theory, where it's like, oh, is Kate and Neo, and it's like, y'all are referencing, like, like very late stage Chris Claremont, like that is not top of mind for most of X-Men fandom.
Claremont is coming back for X-Men Legends, so he might write that story.
Is he officially? Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Chris Claremont, please do Kate Pride Neo follow-up. I behoove you, please.
I will say, the wedding idea is on the table now, so someone could pick it up years from now.
For sure, yeah.
And also, like I said before about Jean and Emma and the Morrison era and Krakoa and all that, if they get married, just like Storm and Black Panther, like, it's not going to last. It's going to be undone in 10 years. So if you don't like Tony and Emma together, just hang in there.
Yeah.
And also, Tony's busy. Tony's actually he's with Hellcat right now in Chris Cantwell's Iron Man book. So everyone, calm down. That's what I'm going to say. which is basically what I want to say when I get some really wild XMen Monday questions. I wish I could reply to the survey. I'm like, look.
Yeah. Right.
Not calm down.
You specifically, okay. Calm. Take a drink of water. Take a breath. It's gonna be okay. Yeah. No, you're right though. That Tony's busy. He's got stuff going on, and this would be doing Patsy Walker dirty for sure, based on what's happening in that Christopher Cantwell written Iron Man series. Brandon here in the chat points out that the Emma Tony thing could have something to do with Heroes Reborn, which I actually really like that theory. That would make a lot of sense. Maybe we throw this to an alternate reality kind of deal. That would be the perfect, like, okay, we're gonna do it, but it's gonna be just a month long kind of alt reality type thing and not really count. That I like that idea a lot. Nicely done, Brandon.
In that universe, Kate Pride is a Neo.
Perfect. We can solve so many things all in this Heroes Reborn universe. I love it. All right, cool. We got another question here from Rodrigo. This is one that I think you'll actually have an interesting perspective on, Chris. He asks, I was just wondering, is it me or does Hickman seem less involved with the X-Men franchise than at the beginning of this New Mutant era? Now, I've got my take on this, but Chris, I'm interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good question. And hi, Rodrigo. I think what's so exciting about this era is how collaborative it is and collaborative. And I think if you've seen, I mean, there have been past XMen Mondays where all the creators get together. There's a Ten of Swords one we did for number 75. And it's a lot of fun to read because it's like, a bunch of friends in a chat room. Yeah. And they're just going back and forth. And I think while Hickman had a very detailed plan going into this, which he pitched to Marvel several times, and, they had a lot of lead time to plan it, bringing in all those new voices, like Leah, like Vita, and Sai now, and it just keeps, growing the team.
Right.
So many fun, and Zeb Wells, Zeb Wells came in after. He's like, I love what you're doing. Here's my pitch. So it's a very welcoming group, and it just keeps expanding. So I think it's only natural that the ideas keep evolving. Similar to how Ten of Swords, they had a plan for it, and the pandemic changed it. And then they took it in a whole different direction or whatever, and they expanded it, added new issues. So it doesn't shock me that, while Hickman might have an end game where he's headed, someone else was like, let's have a gala.
Yeah.
And like, because this stuff, it all feels very spontaneous. And honestly, and I'm shocked I haven't seen more people talk about this, or I haven't seen other other departments of Marvel do this, but like, this should be how every team, like the Spider-Man team or
Right.
they should all have this formula of get a bunch of creative people together, get them in a room, and then have that back and forth, so that the books. I mean, when you read an X book, you can pick them all up, and different characters from different books pop up, and it never feels out of sync. It always makes sense, and because they're all on the same page. I don't know if I feel that way, but I mean, I only read one or two Spider-Man books or check in, every now and then. They don't feel the same way.
No.
It feels like different people are doing different things. Even the Avengers and the solo character books, Iron Man, Thor, and stuff. Everyone's doing their own different things. So I think this is a great way for Batman group, Superman, all these groups to mimic X-Men. But to answer the question, I think it's just evolved. I think Hickman's probably the bones are still there.
Yeah.
And we're still going, like we've got Nimrod coming back. So I think we're heading in a specific direction, but it's everyone has ultimate creativity and freedom to do whatever they want in their books, I think. Which we're better for it.
I think so too. This is definitely something I oscillate on as a fan a little bit, because on one hand, the Hickman vision, if you will, from House and Powers is so appealing and such a part of what got me so invested in this era again, that I want to see those balls move forward, right? So it's like, I want to see Moira X again. I want to see that solo series that was teased and maybe will happen, maybe won't happen. There's some, it's like after one of the questions you had in XMen Monday, it was like, oh, that might be the book that gets cut because X-Corp got announced, kind of thing. But at the same time, the spontaneity with the X-Office, like you're saying, I can definitely see, like, Hickman still is the X-Office head, right? He's credited in all the books. He's clearly participating in all these conversations. When you listen to interviews or read these interviews with creators, they're clearly like, not like running things past him, like he has to stamp off everything, but like there's a back and forth, which is pretty interesting. But that spontaneity, I think, it allows this era to bloom, and it allows it to be bigger than what it was if it was just a Jonathan Hickman story, right? Which is maybe, I don't know, who knows how many issues, but like that story is smaller than when you have a whole team who can fill out the world of Krakoa, which, as a fan of the idea, is kind of very appealing. And as somebody who just earlier on the stream said, like, I want this to go a long time. I want this to be played with for a good number of years. I think that's how you do it. Because again, if everything is like cutting to like, oh, we're dealing with Nimrod, now we're dealing with Moira, now we're dealing with Phalanx, like, it's going to move faster, actually. And while I want that balance of like teases and glimpses and some answers, but while this world is getting built out and having, a month-long party where everyone dresses up super fancy and looks amazing. like there's a balance of that is tricky to pull off. And I think that's why Hickman's role maybe feels slighter, is because House and Powers was like, this is Jonathan Hickman, big screaming headline, obviously with Pepe Larraz and Marty Gracia and RB Silva and everyone who's involved there, right? But now it's like, it's spread out, it's diluted. I don't know, that's diluted is a pejorative, right? And it's not how I mean it. It's spread out. I guess it's diversified across a variety of creators. And I think ultimately when we look back, that will be a good thing because there's more to draw from and there's more to dig into potentially. I hope. I think that's potentially the way it shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Hickman eventually, when this ends, and even if all the creators left, I mean, there's so many talented creators out there. They could jump in. You could swap in a whole new crew, and they could keep Krakoa, but like it can go in a whole different direction.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, I do think the post, like, I don't know, post Endgame status or whatever that would be will be interesting. Because obviously, like with his Avengers, with Hickman's Avengers run, his end of that story was ending the universe. So he was like, and I remember at the time he joked like it's a perfect jumping off point because it was, because it was the end of the Marvel universe. Will X-Men do something similar and just make it like kind of impossible to follow up? Who knows? We'll see.
Well, the thing that I was thinking about the other day, it keeps me up at night, is that if you live in that universe, it's the minute Myra dies, it's all over.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That is, I think about that. I'm like, how do we get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
How do we what is the end game here? Because unless we put her on life support forever,
Yeah.
because we gotta sell those Marvel comics.
Exactly. No, Mara's absolutely crucial, and it's a fascinating question because it is like, right, like she has to be immortal, or like this thing like goes belly up, and I'm sure that's something that that the creators have thought about and have a clever answer for, and I'm curious to see it.
They're probably thinking about it right now because I do ask about Myra in XMen Monday 100.
Ooh, okay, awesome.
Another little drop there. I'm not even drinking it. I'm just dropping all these secrets.
No, and it is a question on everyone's mind. I mean, I talk about it every so often on Krakin Krakoa. People are asking all the time. Like, I do think it's a good debate for people to be having right now. Like, when we look back, will it have been the right approach to totally be devoid of Myra? With the 1 to 2 minuscule exceptions, for as long as we have been, now coming up on a year and a half-ish, of this era. I think that will be a really interesting question in retrospect, because it is one thing that I find fascinating is how much patience I think the X-Men team requests and expects of readers, right? Like, and that is atypical by comic standards. You have to move fast and everything has to be a cliffhanger, especially in the monthly comics game. X-Men it's kind of the thing we talked about earlier of like, there's enough general confidence in what they're doing and enthusiasm for the bits getting there that they can get away with it. And right now that is, I think long term, I'm going to look back and say that was worth it. In the short term though, on a weekly, like I'm reviewing X-Men number 18 and they're not out of the vault yet, I get impatient, It happens.
That's you mentioned the Myra and or Moira, and before House of X came out, I remember I asked Jordan in one of the interviews. I said, is this a stupid, fun throwaway question? Like, if you got the Infinity Gauntlet and could turn any Marvel character into a mutant, who would it be? And he was like, you'll see. And then later, I'm like, Myra.
Yeah.
So it's like there's these little seeds throughout, and some fans might be, there's nothing was said in this, but just because you're not saying this is what happens to Wolverine.
Right.
And Jordan is very good. I mean, I haven't praised Jordan enough on this, but I mean, he's in addition to being a great collaborator and a great editor on this line, he's really good at teasing things and playing with fans in this column. So really fun guy to have as a partner on this.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I definitely appreciate Jordan's answers. I mean, really all the creators have gotten pretty good at it as well. I think learning from like Hickman obviously is like kind of like, he's like the Greg Popovich of Marvel interviews if you're a basketball fan, where he has kind of perfected the art form of like saying things without saying anything. Like if he doesn't want to, like he can he can just like dismiss a question entirely, in like an artful way. It's really interesting to watch now.
He's I mean, he does so few interviews too, though. Like, it's this mystique around him that, like, when when he's coming, it's an event, and he's gonna just drop nuggets within answers that have nothing to do with the question.
Yeah.
And it's like he announced, like, he teased X Factor way before it came out. He revealed X Corp was coming in the last one we did with him.
Yeah,
and it's always funny when Jordan, I'll be like, here comes an email from Jordan, like, let me figure out what we're doing next week. And Jordan will be like, so Jonathan wants to do one. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we'll do that. We'll put aside this Beast edition and have Jonathan.
That's amazing. So you'll actually get the note where like he'll say like, yeah, I'm like game. Like I want to do like a little press here. That's cool. I assumed it would be you being like, hey, can we please get him, sometime.
Yeah, no, I usually don't ask for Jonathan. Every time Jonathan has done the column, I have not asked for Jonathan. He has just told Jordan he's going to come do it.
Yeah.
I think the first time he did it, he said, Jordan told me, he's like, Jonathan said he wants to do the column and he's actually going to pick good questions this time.
There you go. Nice. You should tell him that you are too busy that week and really one up him. Yeah. Total power move. Yeah. Just be like, oh, sorry, John.
The column will end with XMen Monday 101.
Amazing. All right. I think we have just a few minutes. We're coming up on an hour. I had this goofy March Madness bracket. We could probably bounce through it super quickly. Let me see if I can pull it up on the scenes here. All right. We're going to do a quick Hellfire Gala costume design bracket if we can. Okay. So let's let's go through this. Chris, the challengers are, we have Captain Britain's X-Men Gala design versus Rachel Summers. And it occurs to me now, I have no idea how I'm going to sufficiently scroll through these. I'll just do it quickly. Now, if you haven't seen these, so these went up. These are designed by Russell Dowderman. Again, amazing artist. And all of these designs of costumes are something that he's designing for the Hellfire Gala, which is going to take place in June this year, 2021, right? And everyone looks amazing. Everyone looks absolutely incredible. I love this idea of mutant fashion and kind of everyone looking unique. Chris, I know you've reviewed these as well. What are your thoughts on Captain Britain? And I've got the covers here as well. Captain Britain, Betsy Braddock versus Rachel Summers. Rachel's definitely one of the most interesting ones because her costume leans into her hound persona so thoroughly.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Rachel because that is amazing, that outfit, and I love like the melted, like the back of her head view.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thinking about that. I was like, how does she get that on? Is it like melted onto her?
Yeah, I know it's wildness, and that one of the coolest things I thought about these designs. So these were released exclusively via an EW article written by I'm blanking, but please check it out if you haven't. Like you mentioned though, Chris, technically you had the Monet scoop. You just didn't realize it. Here's the Monet scoop.
I used to subscribe to EW, so I'm not gonna not gonna bash EW.
No, it's a good article and it's well worth checking out. But one cool thing, if you actually dig into all these images, is there's like details written, I presume, by Russell about like how the costume is coming together. Like Storms, there's a detail that like her cape is literally clouds and lightning, which is amazing. Like it's so cool. And then there's details about like Jean, like she's holding her like this headgear up, like she's holding it up like psychically, like telepathically. I just find that stuff fascinating. So highly recommend checking it out on EW. But all right, so we've got Rachel winning there. So Emma's got a gazillion designs.
I'm just gonna give it to Emma right now because
do all of the Emmas win? She definitely beats Cyclops. So this is Emma 2, which is definitely, I would say, her most revealing outfit, which I know is going to appeal to a lot of comics readers out there. Then we got Rogue via Emma 3. Okay, so this is a tricky one. I really like Rogue's design. She looks sleek. She looks cool as hell. And then we got, let's see, Emma 3 is the one I'm calling with the really long diamonds kind of running down diamondy cape. Okay, what do you like there, Chris? Do you like Rogue or Emma 3?
Well, I like this Emma 3. It's very chic, but I feel like the Rogue details, because I know the notes say like it calls back to Jim Lee's Rogue.
Yeah,
the lace, and then like the collar was trying to mimic her hood. So a lot of cool details. So I'll give it to Rogue there.
I'm with you on that one actually, because Emma's got 3 designs. She's going to be on a bunch of covers. Like Emma's going to do fine. Don't worry. But yeah,
she's mirroring Tony Stark at the end of this. So
exactly. And then all right, the last one we have up here is Angel v Kate Pride. I like Angel's look a lot. I know Himbo Angel is a huge thing. People are very into, kind of revealing Angel looks right now. This is a good one. I think we only have like 2 male designs on this thing. I think it's Angel and Cyclops, at least revealed at this stage. And then Kate's, I appreciate because it's fun and it's cool and it ties into her Marauders look. But at the same time, it's kind of messy, like Dowderman says, because her fashion sense historically is pretty messy. So who do you like, Angel or Kate?
I'm happy that Angel is getting a lot of play in this era. So let's give it to Angel.
All right, cool. Now let's see if this actually. I don't know what this is going to do when I vote on the live stream here. I don't know if it's actually going to move them forward. Let's see if I can do this. Is this going to work? Nope. Okay. All right. That's basically going to conclude our March Madness bracket because I don't know how to set up a March Madness bracket. But people, let us know in the chat, what are your favorites? Chris, how about you just tell me instead, overall, who's your number 1 pick? Mine was Storm. I had her as the 1 seed. I think that's the absolute coolest design. What were your favorites?
I think anything Emma, because I mean Emma has to be the best. It's her gala. That one is interesting. I like the crown.
The Emma fur in the crown is off the charts wild. I love that one. It's so crazy and fun.
Probably the. Can you go to the right?
Yeah. Kind of Monet. Jean.
I mean they're all good.
Emma again.
Probably that Emma one, I guess. That one or the last one with the diamonds.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the comments was she's wearing like her secondary mutation as like jewelry. So
Which
I
is
think
very
that's,
cool, right? Leaning into the diamond secondary mutation. They're all super fun though. So well
yeah.
done, Russell Donovan. I saw the Cyclops one definitely getting some flack. Chris, you're a big Cyclops fan. How
Yeah.
did you feel about his design? I feel like it makes sense that Scott would have like not the coolest design. Like I don't see that being
Yeah.
his highest priority, you know?
It's an interesting visor. I think there are only a few like Cyclops visor designs over time.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting, cool thing to see, like a new look.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this a shield over his eyes. Yeah, it's an interesting look. I don't know. I don't know if it's Scott's best look, but I think it makes sense. Like if people watching haven't read Russell's quotes on these, definitely check it out because they all make sense and like
Right. He
the
provides
little
some good
details are
insight.
so great. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
even like the Betsy one, has all these nods to like her past costumes,
Hmm.
like the boots and stuff. So
Hmm.
it's even like the makeup on her face, like so you can tell he really, really tapped into his like love for the X-Men and X-Men lore. So
Which is super cool. I love that there's that level of detail in fandom. Because even with Kate's costume being like, oh yeah, in the 80s, like she had so many wild costumes and like her sense wasn't always the cleanest or the clearest. Like Russell's leaning into that in these designs as opposed to just being like, I want to make something cool. Like there's so much comics history and thought put into that, which is fantastic. So I'm jazzed for the Hellfire Gala. I can't wait in June. I'm more excited now for these teasers for X-Men Monday 100 coming up at the end of the month, the last Monday of the month, March 29th. Chris, what else can you tell us here as we come up on time? Any other places people should look to find you? Places people can get involved? Like what do you want to recommend?
I don't want people to find me because then the the X fans who don't want this Tony Emma stuff I've talked about will come after me.
They're just shouting X-Men theories at you down the street. Yeah.
No, I will say for X-Men Monday 100, we're doing. I made some notes here. We're doing some giveaways via AIPT on Twitter this month. So we've done 3 so far, and it's 3 random. So if anyone who follows AIPT on AIPT Comics on Twitter, follow the site when X-Men Mondays come out, which it'll be only one more in March. But if you retweet it and like it, you will be entered into a giveaway. And so we've given out 3 batches of 6 digital codes for recent X-Men comics. Those come from my personal collection. But that's been a lot of fun. People have really dug that. And then so we've got one more chance to win that if you retweet or like X-Men Monday 100. You could get 6 digital codes. And then we have a big, it's called the Giant Size giveaway, which is if you're a U.S. citizen, the winner has to be a U.S. citizen, we'll mail you a box of various X-Men issues and trade paperbacks. So that'll be cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to definitely give back. I mean, because the fans are central to X-Men Monday and have been since the start, so we wanted to give back. And then one other thing we're doing that I can announce is on next Monday. So we're off on next week, but we'll have on Monday artist Todd Knock. A couple during the pandemic, I talked to him and we did an interview, and we did a collaborative drawing with the fans where they got to vote on a prop, a character, and a location. And the winner was Storm on Krakoa holding the Soul Sword from Magic.
Okay.
So Soul Sword Storm, a lot of people really got excited, especially Storm fans. It was an awesome Todd drawing and it's colored and everything like a commission at a con. And I reached out to Todd and saw if he'd want to auction that off. So we're going to auction that off to the Hero Initiative. So
nice. Yeah.
that'll be on. We'll link to that in the article on Monday. And anyone who wants that can bid on eBay, and all proceeds will go to the Hero Initiative, and they will get that Todd original Soul Sword Storm. So that's kind of cool. We got to do that, kind of give back to the broader comics community.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's very cool, and I look forward to seeing that Storm with the Soul Sword. That should be awesome. All right, Chris, this has been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk X-Men. Everybody, stay tuned for X-Men Monday coming up. Again, there are some links here in the show notes that you can check it out for yourself. For everybody else, I'm Dave. You can find my stuff at comicbookherald.com. Krakin Krakoa here on YouTube. The channel is Comic Book Herald. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy me talking X-Men and anything else comics related in some of these chats. So thanks everybody for joining. Chris, thanks so much for your time. And everybody else, we will talk to you later. Take care.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody. Bye.